Hello, I'm Kori from Aperture Greenville, and I'm going to tell you a little bit how to use your camera in the manual setting so you can take really professional photos. So, you start with your camera. This is just probably a mid-range Canon camera, but an expensive camera isn't what you need. I can take a really great photo on any camera. It's really about your lenses. So every camera you buy comes with a kit lens, and that's great. You should always keep it because it zooms. But you want your first lens to be a 50 millimeter. 50 millimeter is what's going to get that creamy, smooth background while your subject is going to be really sharp. My next favorite lens is my 85 millimeter. This is really good for up close and portraits. So we're going to focus on three things today. So this is an up close of what the back of your camera looks like when you turn it on. So when you switch to manual, which is just the best way, manual is you just have full control of the camera. So if it's super sunny outside and you're on portrait mode, it's probably not going to, your picture's just gonna be overexposed. But if you switch to manual, then you can control that. So we're gonna focus on these three things here. This is your shutter speed. This is how fast your lens opens and closes. This is your aperture, and this is ISO or ISO. I've heard it said two different ways, but this is how much light is let into your camera. These kind of go together with shutter speed. So this I found on the internet. It's not my actual camera, because I think if you keep your ISO at 100, you really don't need to change it too much. Every now and then, if it's dark, you might want to bump it down a little bit, but I think 100 is perfect. 400, I've never shot on 400 before. So depending on your lens, you have your aperture. So this is f-stop 4.0, which means that your lens is really, really open. And the more open it is, the less blurry your background is. So the smaller number will make that background pretty blurry. My 50 millimeter, this is a 50 millimeter with an aperture of 1.4. This lens is about $400 or $500, but they do have ones for 120 bucks. That's the 1.8, and it does just as good. Same thing with the 85 millimeter. It's a 1.8, and you'll get that nice background. So then you have your shutter speed, which is important to know because that is how fast your lens eye is opening and closing. So you want it to open up long enough to let light in, but if it's opened up too long, your whole picture is just going to be white. So that's pretty much it, but just a quick recap is when you turn it to manual, just to start out, put your ISO on 100. I think that's great. Your aperture, if you want to take it to the lowest number is going to get you the blurriest camera, the blurriest background. Sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes it's not, depending on if you have a whole group of people. But if you just have one person as your subject, then the lowest number is fine. And then your shutter speed. The good thing about shutter speed is if you have a 50 millimeter lens, then you might want to set it at 1 and 50. If you have an 85 millimeter lens, you might want to set it at 1 and 85. And this is if it's a beautifully sunny day and the light is bright outside. And now if it's dark, you probably want a lower speed so it stays open longer. But that is another subject. So this is just a quick basic on how to work your camera in manual and a couple of lenses that are good to start with. Thank you so much for listening to my video. Enjoy your week.